Present simple and adverbs of frequency. Use. We use the present simple to talk about habits and routines.
I play tennis every week.
To talk about things that are always true.
Sleep is really important for health.
Form. We form the present simple with the infinitive form of the verb. To make negative sentences, we add don't before the verb. To make questions, we add do before the subject. After he, she, it, etc., we add s to the verb. We use doesn't in negative sentences and does in questions. I, you, we, they.
I eat. You don't eat. Do you eat?
He, she, it.
She eats. He doesn't eat. Does he eat? Does she eat? Does it eat?
The verb be is different from other verbs.
I'm fit. I'm not fit. Am I fit?
You, we, they.
We're fit. They aren't fit. Are you fit?
He, she, it.
She's fit. She isn't fit. Is he fit?
Adverbs and expressions of frequency. We use adverbs and other expressions in present simple sentences to talk about how often we do things.
Mike usually goes for a run in the evening. I'm often late for work. I have a hot drink 5 or 6 times a day. We go on holiday 2 or 3 times a year.
Some common frequency adverbs are
Always. Usually. Often. Sometimes. Not often. Rarely.
position. Frequency adverbs and expressions of frequency go in different places in a sentence. Adverbs of frequency go before the main verb, but after the verb to be.
They never eat out. She's always out at the weekend. I don't often do sport.
Expressions of frequency normally go at the beginning or end of a sentence.
I go out with friends 3 or 4 times a week. Once a week, I go for a run.
Present continuous. Use. We use the present simple to talk about things we do or that happen regularly. We use the present continuous to talk about something in progress in the present. This can be something actually in progress at this moment.
I can't answer the phone because I'm driving.
Something happening around now, but not necessarily at this moment.
I'm looking for a new job.
A changing situation.
More and more people are changing their diet.
Form. We form the present continuous with be plus verb plus ing.
I'm writing. I'm not writing. Am I writing?
You, we, they.
We're writing. They aren't writing. Are you writing?
He, she, it.
He's writing. She isn't writing. Is she writing?
Some verbs describe states. For example, agree, believe, hate, know, like, love, prefer, want. We don't use these verbs with the continuous. We don't say, he's owning a really nice car. We do say, he owns a really nice car.
Verbs for rules. Use. To talk about rules, we use the verbs must, have to, and can. To say that something is obligatory, we use must or have to.
You have to train hard to do a marathon. Runners must arrive 20 minutes before the race.
To say that something is allowed, we use can.
Members can use the swimming pool for free.
To say that something is not obligatory but allowed, we use don't have to.
You don't have to be fit to join the club.
To say that something is not allowed, we use can't or mustn't.
You can't touch the ball in football. You mustn't leave any bags in this area.
The verbs must and have to and can't and mustn't have very similar meanings. In general, we prefer to use have to and can't in spoken English to talk about rules. In formal written English, we prefer to use must and mustn't.
You have to pay $40 to do the race.
Spoken.
Competitors must pay $40 to enter the race.
Formal written.
You can't go near the pool with shoes on.
Spoken.
Customers must not go near the pool with shoes on.
Formal written. But remember that mustn't and don't have to have completely different meanings. Mustn't means don't do it, while don't have to means it's not necessary to do it. Form. We normally use these verbs before a main verb.
You can borrow my running shoes.
The verbs must, mustn't, and can, can't don't work like normal verbs. They never change. We use the same form for all persons. I, you, he, she, it, etc. We don't use do, does, or did to make questions or negatives. I, you, we, they.
I can swim. I can't swim. Can you swim?
He, she, it.
She can swim. He can't swim. Can he swim?
The verb have to works like a normal verb. It changes for he, she, it in the present simple, and we form questions and negatives in the past and present using do, does, or did. I, you, we, they.
I have to go. I don't have to go. Do you have to go?
He, she, it.
He has to go. She doesn't have to go. Does she have to go?
ing form. We use the ing form of a verb after be to form the present or past continuous.
I'm getting ready to go out. I was watching a film.
However, we also use the ing form in some other ways. Ing form as the subject of a sentence. We can make a verb the subject of a sentence. When we do this, we usually use the ing form.
Playing sport is great for your health.
Ing form after prepositions. When a verb comes after a preposition, it is always in the ing form.
I'm not very good at swimming.
Ing form after some verbs. We sometimes put two verbs together in a sentence. The form of the second verb depends on the first verb. After the verbs like, dislike, love, hate, can't stand, enjoy, and don't mind, the second verb is in the ing form.
Jan loves watching sport. I don't mind running in the cold. Comparatives and Superlatives. Form.
Slow, slower, the slowest. Easy, easier, the easiest. Difficult, more difficult, the most difficult. Good, better, the best.
For most one-syllable adjectives, we add er to form the comparative, and we add est to form the superlative.
Fast, faster, fastest. Old, older, oldest.
For most adjectives that have two syllables or more, we use more plus adjective to form the comparative, and we use most plus adjective to form the superlative.
Useful, more useful, most useful. Expensive, more expensive, most expensive.
For some two-syllable adjectives, often adjectives that end in y, le, ow and er, we can either use er or more to form the comparative and est or most to form the superlative. We sometimes use one form more than the other. For example, narrower is more common than more narrow, whereas friendlier and more friendly are both common.
Friendly, friendlier, or more friendly. Friendliest, or most friendly. Simple, simpler, or more simple. Simplest, or most simple. Narrow, narrower, or more narrow. Narrowest, or most narrow.
Spelling rules. Note the following spelling rules when adding er or est to adjectives. For adjectives that end in e, we just add r or st.
Nice, nicer, nicest.
For adjectives that end in y, we change the y to I and add er or est.
Busy, busier, busiest.
For one-syllable adjectives that end in consonant, vowel, consonant, we generally double the final consonant.
Big, bigger, biggest. Wet, wetter, wettest.
However, we do not double W, X or Y.
Slow, slower, slowest.
Irregular forms. There are 3 common irregular adjectives.
Good, better, best. Bad, worse, worst. Far, further or farther. Furthest or the farthest.
Less and the least. To make a negative comparison, we use less plus adjective to form the comparative and the least plus adjective to form the superlative.
Fun, less fun, least fun. Popular, less popular, least popular.
Use. We use comparative adjectives to compare things. We often use them with than.
A taxi will be quicker than a bus. We could get a bus, but a taxi will be quicker. This one's more expensive than the others. They're less popular than they used to be.
We use superlative adjectives to compare one thing with other things in a group. We usually say the before a superlative.
What's the easiest way to get to the town centre?
We can also use a possessive form. The company's, New York's, my, etc. And words such as the second, the third, the next, etc.
Waterloo is London's busiest underground station, and King's Cross is the second busiest.
As. We use as plus adjective plus as to say things are the same.
Cycling there is as quick as going by bus. It's as old as I am.
To say things are not the same, we use not as plus adjective plus as. The thing we mention first is smaller or less busy, less heavy, etc.
The UK is not as big as Italy. The town isn't as busy as it used to be.
Comparative modifiers. We use comparative modifiers when we say there is a big or small difference between things that we are comparing. To say there is a big difference, we can use a lot or much. To say there is a small difference, we can use a bit or a little.
Public transport is much more expensive than it used to be. Lucy's house is a bit nearer than Sue's. We usually fly from Manchester if possible. Heathrow is a lot less convenient. Past simple. Use. We use the past simple to talk about finished actions, events, or situations in the past.
I visited the Taj Mahal last year. We saw a great film at the weekend.
Form. Past simple forms can be regular or irregular. We form the past simple of regular verbs by adding ed to the infinitive form.
Want, wanted. Look, looked.
If the verb ends in e, we just add d.
Like, liked. Hope, hoped.
We form the past simple of verbs ending in consonant plus y by changing y to ied.
Study, studied. Try, tried.
We don't form the past simple of irregular verbs with ed.
Go, went. Hear, heard. See, saw.
To form negatives in the past simple, we use didn't plus infinitive. I, you, we, they.
I watched. I didn't watch.
He, she, it.
He watched. She didn't watch.
The verb be is different from other verbs. Its past simple form is was or were. We don't use did to form negatives. I, you, we, they.
I was tired. You weren't tired.
He, she, it.
She was tired. He wasn't tired.
Past simple questions. We make questions in the past simple with did plus infinitive.
Why did you choose to visit Turkey? Did she have fun on holiday?
When we make questions in the past simple with the verb be, we use was and were. We do not add did.
Were you tired after your trip? Where was your hotel?
Past continuous and past simple. Use. We use the past continuous to talk about an action in progress at a moment in the past.
I was watching TV at 8 o'clock last night. Tony was living in Madrid in 2015.
Form. We form the past continuous with was, were, and the ing form of the main verb. I, you, we, they.
I was reading. I wasn't reading. Were you reading?
He, she, it.
She was reading. She wasn't reading. Was he reading?
We often use the past continuous and the past simple together. We use the past continuous for a longer continuing activity and the past simple for a shorter finished action.
Jack was watching a movie when his phone rang.
I met my husband when I was travelling around India. We often use when and while to join the two parts of a sentence with past continuous and past simple together. We use when before a past simple or a past continuous verb. We normally only use while with a past continuous verb.
I met Matteo when I was studying at university. Someone stole my camera while I was eating in a restaurant.
When we use when with the past simple, it can also mean after.
I called Sylvia when I read her message.
If the part of the sentence with when or while comes first, we put a comma after it.
When I met Matteo, I was studying at university.
Remember that we don't use verbs that describe states. For example, believe, like, love, prefer, with a continuous tense.
Quantifiers. We use quantifiers with nouns to talk about quantity. The choice of quantifier depends on if the noun is countable or uncountable, if we are talking about small or large quantities. Some nouns are countable. This means they can become plural. For example, computer, bag, box, magazine. Other nouns are uncountable. This means they cannot normally become plural. For example, rubbish, plastic, paper, metal. Large quantity. Countable.
A lot of. Lots of.
Uncountable.
A lot of. Lots of.
Neutral quantity. Not large or small. Countable.
Some.
Uncountable.
Some.
Small quantity. Countable.
Not many.
Uncountable.
Not much.
Small quantity. Countable.
A few.
Uncountable.
A little.
No quantity. 0. Countable.
Not any.
Uncountable.
Not any.
We use a lot of or lots of with countable and uncountable nouns to talk about large quantities. The meaning of a lot of and lots of is the same.
There was a lot of rubbish on the streets after the party. We have lots of great shops in my neighbourhood.
We use some with both countable and uncountable nouns. It does not refer to a specific amount. We use it to talk about quantities that are not large and are not small.
I found some really useful books in the library.
Not a lot. In more formal English, we use many plus plural noun to talk about large quantities.
There are many interesting places to visit in the city.
We also use many and much in questions.
Are there many good shops where you live? Do you have much free time?
We don't normally use many and much in affirmative sentences in spoken English. We use a lot of or lots of instead. We use not much and not many to talk about small quantities. We use not much with uncountable nouns and not many with plural countable nouns.
There weren't many people at the party. They don't have much money.
Note that not always goes with the verb in the sentence. We also use a few and a little to talk about small quantities. We use a few with plural countable nouns and a little with uncountable nouns.
I have a few really good friends. There's a little milk in the bottle.
We use not any with countable and uncountable nouns to talk about zero quantity, when there is nothing.
I don't have any money. There weren't any shops open when we arrived.
Note that not always goes with the verb in the sentence. We also use any with countable and uncountable nouns to ask questions.
Are there any good beaches in the area? Do you have any orange juice?
Articles. An, the, or no article. We use an to talk about something that isn't specific.
Have you got a pen?
Not a particular pen. The first time we mention something.
I saw a beautiful painting in the museum.
We use the second time we mention something.
A man and a woman were waiting for us at the airport. The man helped us with our suitcases.
When something is unique.
The sun looked really beautiful from the top of the mountain.
With superlatives.
It was the best holiday of my life.
With the names of some places, such as oceans, for example, the Atlantic Ocean. Deserts, for example, the Sahara Desert. and mountain ranges, for example, the Himalayas. We use no article to talk about plural or uncountable nouns in general.
I never stay in hotels because they're so expensive. Tourism brings a lot of money to the area.
The names of most places, for example, the names of continents, countries, cities and lakes.
To plus infinitive. We use the to plus infinitive form of the verb in different situations. Verb plus to plus infinitive. Sometimes two verbs appear together in a sentence. The form of the second verb depends on the first verb. After many verbs, for example, decide, help, hope, intend, learn, need, plan, pretend, promise, want, would like, the second verb has the form to plus infinitive.
I need to go to the shops. We decided to move abroad.
Adjective plus to plus infinitive. When a verb appears after an adjective, it often has the form to plus infinitive.
It's exciting to visit new places. It's nice to see you again.
Infinitive explaining the purpose of an action. We also use the to plus infinitive form to say why we do something.
I went to the library to look for a book. She's going to Paris to visit a friend.
We don't use for plus verb to give reasons. We don't say,
I called Jan for invite her to my party.
We say,
I called Jan to invite her to my party.
Note that the negative of to plus infinitive is not to plus infinitive.
I promise not to do that again. It's important not to work too hard.
See Unit 2 for when we use the ing form of the verb. Future forms. Present continuous. We use the present continuous to talk about a fixed arrangement in the future. For example, when we have agreed something with other people or when we have already spent money. We normally mention a specific time.
We're getting the train at 11:20 a.m. I'm going to the theatre with Michelle tonight.
Be going to. We use be going to plus infinitive to talk about general plans and intentions.
I'm going to travel around Asia this summer. We're going to go to the cinema this weekend.
We form questions and negatives with going to in the same way as in the present continuous.
I'm not going to have time to see you. Are you going to drive to the party?
Will. We use will plus infinitive, without to, when we make a decision while we're speaking.
What can I bring you?
I'll have the tuna salad, please. We also use will to make promises and offers.
We'll meet you at the train station. I'll pay for your ticket.